Donald Trump and Elon Musk's quest to eliminate the very idea of somebody working for the government has destroyed a lot of jobs of libs, and the right loves that. It's also fired a lot of conservatives.
A Trump supporter just got fired from his government job after 16 years of service. The reason? The very policies pushed by the man he voted for 3 times. Talk about shooting yourself in the foot.
A lot of people who love Donald Trump, voted for Donald Trump, have also lost their jobs. And for some reason, Fox doesn't seem to care too much about that.
This guy actually wrote a desperate letter to Trump begging for his job back. He seriously thinks the man who called government workers the deep state is gonna help him out. Spoiler alert, Trump's too busy golfing at Mar-a-Lago to care about the little people who worship him. Quick favor before we move on. If you appreciate this content, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Believe it or not, more than 92% of viewers haven't subscribed yet. It's free and only takes a second, but it means the world to us. So, did you subscribe already? Great. Thank you so much for your support.
And I still support you, that hurts. I was encouraged by the doggy to see what they were getting rid of government wasteful spending. I support that too. My termination letter said I was being let go for performance reasons. And so he put out this letter saying, Donald J. Trump, hello, sir. I am one of the probationary employees terminated by the doggy at 9 p.m. last night, February 14th. I voted for you, sir, 3 times. And I know that's not true. I'm an excellent employee. I've been with the federal government for almost 16 years. 16 years in June. I'd started my career with USDA, transferred to DHS, and recently came back to USDA because it's such a great agency to work for.
Now back to the video. Imagine working for the government for 16 years, voting for Trump 3 times, and then getting a pink slip on Valentine's Day. Talk about a bad date. Cupid shot an arrow straight through this guy's job security. And the culprit wasn't even decency enough to show up with chocolates. Meet our USDA employee, a loyal federal worker who's dedicated nearly 2 decades of his life pushing papers and serving the American public through multiple administrations. This isn't some deep state operative plotting in the shadows. This is just a regular Joe who showed up to work every day under Bush, Obama, Trump, and Biden without complaint. The kind of steady, reliable government worker who keeps the lights on while politicians come and go. But apparently, 16 years of service means absolutely nothing when Trump's Schedule F executive order comes knocking. This little bureaucratic bombshell was designed specifically to make it easier to fire federal workers without all those pesky protections. You know? The protections that prevent presidents from turning government agencies into personal revenge machines. Our poor USDA guy found this out the hard way, when instead of a Valentine's card, he received termination papers with a big presidential seal on them. The letter this guy sent to Trump afterward is truly something else. Picture a breakup text where one person is still madly in love, while the other person has already changed the locks, deleted their number, and is swiping right on someone new. Dear Mr. President, I've voted for you 3 times. I believe in everything you stand for, and I still don't understand why you fired me specifically. This guy practically writes, while surrounded by MAGA merchandise. What's really fascinating is the confusion in his letter. He genuinely thought drain the swamp meant getting rid of corrupt politicians and lobbyists. You know, actual swamp creatures. He never imagined Trump was talking about regular government employees who process paperwork and answer phones. This would be like going to a pest control company to get rid of raccoons in your attic, and they demolish your whole house instead. Well, technically the raccoons are gone. The saddest part is how this employee still emphasizes his value to the department, practically begging for his job back like a guy trying to convince his ex they made a mistake. I'm one of the good ones, Mr. President. I know how the department works. I can help implement your agenda. Meanwhile, Trump is too busy planning his next golf outing to even read this heartfelt plea. There's something tragically poetic about getting dumped by your political hero on Valentine's Day of all days. Imagine sitting at home surrounded by MAGA hats, Trump flags on your truck, maybe even one of those cardboard cutouts of him in your living room, and then opening an envelope that essentially says, "You're fired, love, Donald." The guy probably had dinner reservations that night too. But instead of celebrating love, he was updating his resume. The worst part? This isn't just one sad sap story. This is the future for thousands of federal employees if Trump's Schedule F makes a comeback. We're talking about up to 50,000 workers who could be kicked to the curb faster than contestants on The Apprentice. People with mortgages, kids in college, and retirement plans, all sacrificed on the altar of draining the swamp. These aren't mysterious deep state operatives plotting in dark rooms. They're the folks who make sure your grandma gets her Social Security check on time, inspect the meat at your grocery store, and process your tax returns. You know, just the entire functioning government that keeps our country from collapsing into chaos. The ultimate irony here is that the very people Trump claims to fight for, the forgotten men and women of America, the working class, the loyal supporters, are the first ones getting tossed under the gold-plated Trump bus. It's like promising to protect someone's house from burglars and then setting it on fire yourself. Good news, no one will rob your house now. Bad news, you don't have a house anymore. This USDA employee is basically the canary in the coal mine, except the canary is wearing a MAGA hat and still somehow thinks the coal mine owner cares about its well-being. It's a perfect microcosm of Trump's entire relationship with his base. He'll gladly accept their undying loyalty and votes. But when it comes time to return the favor, sorry, nothing personal, just business. But perhaps the most telling part of this Valentine's Day breakup isn't what Trump did. It's who's pretending it never happened. The media ecosystem that breathlessly covers every economic hiccup under Democratic administrations has mysteriously gone mute about our MAGA-loving USDA employee. What does this silence reveal about who they really serve? If you've ever watched Fox News for more than 5 minutes, you'd think government employees were a species of lazy, overpaid parasites sucking on the taxpayer teat. They've spent years painting federal workers as some kind of shadowy, deep state villains, plotting in the basement of the Pentagon. Turn on any primetime show, and you'll hear terms like bureaucratic swamp creatures thrown around like confetti at a government pension party. Remember when Fox hosts were practically doing backflips celebrating Trump's promises to drain the swamp? They'd air endless segments glorifying his plans to gut federal agencies. Sean Hannity once spent an entire monologue practically salivating over the prospect of mass firings. Laura Ingraham called government workers entrenched bureaucrats undermining American prosperity. Tucker Carlson, back when he was still on Fox, would regularly refer to them as the permanent Washington class that truly runs your life. But here's the funny thing. When an actual loyal Trump voter gets crushed by those same policies, suddenly Fox News develops a severe case of amnesia. We ran a media analysis of their coverage following our USDA employees' story breaking, and guess how many segments they dedicated to it? 0. Zilch. Nada. Not even a passing mention in their news briefs section. The story of a 3-time Trump voter losing his livelihood due to Trump's own policy apparently doesn't qualify as news on America's most watched cable network. Now contrast that with how these same networks cover other job-related stories. When a factory announces layoffs under Biden, breaking news alerts, on-site reporters interviewing tearful workers, and extensive economic analysis. When immigration numbers tick up, wall-to-wall coverage about immigrants stealing American jobs. They'll run heart-wrenching profiles of families impacted by Biden's economic policies, faster than Trump can say, "You're fired." Right-wing commentators have been busy too, rushing to Twitter and Facebook to dismiss our USDA guy's heartbreak. "Necessary casualties in the war to save America," wrote one blue-checked conservative influencer with 500K followers. Another popular commentator tweeted, "Sometimes you have to crack a few MAGA eggs. to make a smaller government omelet. So much for caring about the working class. Remember last year when that factory in Michigan laid off 200 workers and Fox News ran those emotional interviews with the employees? They had dramatic music, tearful families, and hosts shaking their heads solemnly about Biden's America. They even brought on economic experts to explain how Democratic policies were destroying American livelihoods. But a Trump supporter fired directly because of Trump's policies? Crickets, tumbleweeds, the sound of selective outrage machines powering down. You'd think this USDA story would be catnip for a network that claims to champion forgotten Americans. It has everything. A loyal government worker, a family man, a true believer in the MAGA cause, suddenly cast aside by the very administration he supported. It's literally the definition of human interest. So why the radio silence? Because acknowledging that Trump's policies actually hurt his own voters would shatter the carefully constructed fantasy they've been selling their audience. The entire right-wing media ecosystem depends on maintaining the illusion that Trump is the savior of the working class, not the guy who'll toss them aside the moment they're inconvenient. If they showed their viewers the reality, that Trump's policies often harm the very people who vote for him, the whole house of cards might collapse. What we're witnessing is the ultimate media hypocrisy. These networks don't actually care about American workers losing their jobs. They only care when they can weaponize those job losses against their political enemies. When the job losses come from policies they support, suddenly those workers become invisible, their stories unworthy of airtime, their struggles irrelevant to the narrative. This selective coverage isn't just bad journalism, it's a deliberate manipulation of information designed to serve a political agenda. The same people who shed crocodile tears over every economic statistic under Democratic administrations suddenly can't find their empathy when the layoffs come from Trump's desk. It reveals that for all their talk about representing working-class Americans, right-wing media only cares about them when their stories can be used as political ammunition. What's truly wild about this USDA Valentine's Day breakup is the response from our fired employee's own MAGA family. When his story hit social media, his fellow Trump supporters didn't rush to his defense. They basically told him his job loss was a necessary sacrifice for the MAGA movement. Imagine getting fired, losing your health insurance, and then having your political teammates tell you to suck it up for the team. That's like having your house burned down, and your neighbors saying, well, the neighborhood looks cleaner now. This isn't just about one government worker, though. Trump's policies have been hurting his own voters since day one. Remember those steel and aluminum tariffs back in 2018? Trump claimed they would protect American jobs, but they actually made things worse for manufacturers who suddenly had to pay more for materials. And who works in manufacturing? A whole bunch of people who voted for Trump. The tariffs were like Trump promising to put out a fire and then showing up with a flamethrower instead of a water hose. American farmers got hit even harder. When Trump started his tariff war, other countries fought back by slapping tariffs on American agricultural products. Suddenly, farmers couldn't sell their soybeans to China anymore. The same farmers who had Trump signs in their fields were watching their crops rot because the great deal maker had destroyed their markets. But here's the kicker, many of them still supported him. That's like thanking the guy who just slashed your tires for improving your gas mileage. The BuzzFeed comment section under our USDA workers story was a psychological case study in cult-like devotion. One commenter actually wrote that his job loss was a necessary evil to save the country from bankruptcy. Another told him he should be proud to make this sacrifice for America. I mean, seriously? These people are cheering for policies that destroy their own livelihoods. It's like watching someone applaud while the repo man drives away with their car. What makes this especially bizarre is the contrast between these dismissive comments and the real human cost. This isn't some abstract policy debate. This is a real person with bills to pay and a family to support. 16 years of expertise and institutional knowledge just thrown away. But, to his fellow MAGA supporters, he's just collateral damage in their political war. One comment even suggested he should be grateful for the opportunity to find a real job in the private sector. Yeah, I'm sure health insurance companies are just lining up to cover a middle-aged guy who just lost his job. Super easy transition. This is where psychology gets really interesting. What we're seeing is textbook cognitive dissonance, holding two conflicting beliefs at the same time. Trump supporters know deep down that losing your job is bad, but they also believe Trump is good and everything he does is good. So rather than question their devotion to Trump, they twist themselves into mental pretzels to justify why losing your job is actually awesome. It's like telling yourself that getting food poisoning is great because it helps with your diet. And this isn't just random online comments. This cult-like devotion has been studied by psychologists. When people build their identity around a political figure, they prioritize that group loyalty above everything else, including their own economic interests. Any criticism gets dismissed as fake news or an attack from the deep state. Information that contradicts their beliefs just bounces right off them like bullets off Superman. So what would it actually take for reality to break through to these folks? Would Trump literally have to show up at their house, take their wallet, and laugh in their face? Even then, they'd probably convince themselves it was part of some genius plan to own the libs. Or they'd blame Biden somehow. Trump only took my wallet because Biden's inflation made my money worthless anyway. The sad truth is that many MAGA supporters will keep backing policies that actively harm them because they've been programmed to blame everyone else for their problems. The media, the immigrants, the coastal elites, anyone but the guy actually signing the executive orders that destroy their livelihoods. It's like blaming the getaway driver when the bank robber is standing right there counting your money. So our MAGA friend thought Trump actually cared about him. That's adorable. Like expecting a cat to remember your birthday. The reality? Trump has created a system where his most loyal followers are the first to get tossed under the gold-plated bus. The painful irony is that this employee's devotion meant nothing when it came to Trump's agenda of slashing government jobs. His policies don't just contradict his promises, they actively hurt the people waving his flags and wearing his hats. Don't waste time begging for scraps from someone who sees you as expendable. The solution isn't writing sad letters, it's voting for someone who values public service instead of vilifying it.